Hey, welcome. This is Black Spaces, the show where we give you sci-fi fantasy from a Black SGL perspective. Many other shows will critique blockbuster and indie sci-fi and fantasy films and TV series, but we'll give you the unique critique. This is Captain Cameron. No, this is Todd. This is Todd, and I am joined by these stellar, get it, stellar, sci-fi, stellar Vince, Ulysses, and Milton. We are the four brothers from the mother planet. Brothers from a mother planet. How y'all doing?
What's up, y'all?
Doing good. Doing good.
How you doing, Vince?
I have food on my stomach. I'm doing real well.
Okay. All right. What you have to eat?
Some fried chicken smothered in gravy.
Oh, good Lord. We
smothered and covered.
Already, this is a Black show. Okay, so
Was it shots and screwed?
On with chicken.
and Ulysses, you doing all right?
I'm doing good. I had some technical difficulties here. Just trying to get everything to be everything.
Okay.
But we're good.
Okay, all right. You're looking spectral but lovely.
Awesome.
And Milton, you do all right?
I am good, Todd. I am good. Just looking forward to this.
Well, good. So just to tell our audience, you can catch us on the CCC Facebook page, streaming live, and on YouTube. Look for Black Spaces. And please like and share us because we love you. Now, this season, you're joining us for the maiden voyage of this show, of the Black Spaces show. And this is episode 1, our first seasons. We are rocking the foundation, double entendre. We are critiquing films and TV series that are considered among the modern sci-fi classics: Isaac Asimov's Foundation, Frank Herbert's Dune, and the Wachowski siblings' Matrix Resurrections. And we have only just begun. In every one of our shows, we're going to ask 3 big questions. One is, what is the source? Remember the Matrix, consider the source, return to the source. What is the source? So we're going to talk a little bit about the original creator of that story or novel or film that was inspired by novel. Then we're going to ask, is it good sci-fi? Is it good sci-fi? And thirdly, how does it represent us? So those are the 3 main questions we will answer. Does that sound good, gentlemen?
Sounds like a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get into the discussion of the Foundation TV show that is Apple series, or the Apple Plus TV series that is the takeoff of Isaac Asimov's classic work, I want to ask y'all one question. Why get into science fiction, particularly as Black people, particularly as Black SGL men? Why are you into science fiction? And let me start with you, Vince. Why science fiction? I see your Star Wars. I got mine on too. Why?
For me, it's an escape. It always was. I can remember, growing up in the 70s. Saturday nights or Saturday afternoons, you see all the sci-fi black and white film being shown on ABC or whatever network was. And then I remember Star Wars. That's what hit me. And it's all about, for me, it's just all about fantasy. It's about taking me out of where I am at the moment, right? It's in many respects seeing, what could possibly be. And so that that for me was it. And you know, and I also used to go watch Walt Disney, right? You know, my mother used to take me to see, you know, Escape to Witch Mountain, you know. So I always grew up with watching things that were, they had a great storyline, and I could fall asleep as a kid and think, you know, I'm Tony, or to you know, whatever, you know, I'm on the Love Bug. So yeah, that's why I watch.
Ulysses, why you? What is it about science fiction that you find entertaining, interesting, intriguing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
I think like Vince, for me, it was always the possibility of what could be. Like I grew up, I was head always in the clouds, big dreamer. Okay, big dreamer. Always just kind of writing stories in my head. And science fiction was always that it didn't have rules. You know what I mean? And it really broke the barriers of what I saw every day, you know, with people and our interactions with each other. And you know, acceptance, you know, of a lot of differences. So like I wasn't like an original Star Trek fan, but I was a Next Generations fan. You know what I mean? And so you have to understand when I came along into that, you know, prior to that I was into Star Wars, but you know, when it came to that, I got an opportunity to see so much diversity. And the stories were so just well written, but also got your mind going and thinking about the possibilities of what we could be and what we could accomplish, you know, if we just put, you know, some of the other stuff aside, because there's going to be a whole other set of stuff that we're going to have to work on, you know, as a collective. You know, so if we need to get our stuff together and just yeah, I mean, so yeah, I guess that's what it was for me, you know, just to see the possibilities and not really see people, you know, bickering and arguing so much about visual differences or who they're sleeping with and all that other stuff. It you know, boiled down to, you know, philosophical debate. And it, you know, just kind of an intelligent moving forward. So, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Milton, why you like sci-fi?
You know, I, as a kid, was always a big dreamer. You know, I can remember going outside and just laying in the grass and looking up at the sky and just always wondering what was either coming next, you know, what was beyond. You know, I was always the kid asking tons of questions. I know I drove my mom and my grandparents crazy. You know, everything that I didn't understand, I would ask them. They'd say, well, go look it up. You know, back then we had encyclopedias, so I would go and look up stars and things like that. And then when I began to get into television and, you know, watching cartoons, that's when I just really got hooked. And I remember the second movie I ever saw, I think the first one was Saturday Night Fever in a theater. And then after that, it was Star Wars. And then I was just hooked from there. And just the big screen, you know, as a little kid, that was also the first time I had chocolate, believe it or not. I had never had a chocolate bar in my life. You know, my family just wasn't big into sweets. And so I had a chocolate bar.
There wasn't a whole bunch of chocolate in the original Star Wars. But
right. I guess he just had Billy D.
We'll get to that later.
I know. And so then that hooked me. And you know, as a kid, I wasn't really into the comics or reading a lot of sci-fi, but definitely on television. So every day after school, Saturdays, you know, definitely into the cartoons. And, you know, and I always liked the parallels between what was really going on currently and then the possibility of what it could be, you know, when you would turn on a television show or a movie, just to kind of see what the potential future could be, you know, based upon all the crap that maybe we were going through at the time.
Okay.
I used to pretend I was Wonder Woman.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I used to run up and down the street with platform boots on. I would go to my daddy's closet and put on, you know, those platform boots that they used to wear. And I would run up and down the street Wonder Woman. I would run down. I had my little thing.
Now, did you do the original spin that Linda Carter?
I was about to say that. I'm sorry to say, first of all,
yes, I did.
you ain't do the spin.
I went. Yes, I did. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Linda Carter. She was my idol.
There you go. So,
all about the spin, baby.
It's all about the spin. All right, speaking of spin, let's get into our discussion of this Apple TV series. But we're going to talk just a little bit about the first topic of considering the source. So I've listened to a lot of commentaries, and you don't want to, we want to, this show is going to be fun and light, but we do want to be serious enough or provide enough of a critique that we actually get into a little bit about the backstory, and particularly the backstory of the author in question. So the individual who inspired this Apple TV series is the author Isaac Asimov. And Asimov was a American scientist. For many years he was on the chemistry faculty at Columbia. Well, he got his doctorate in chemistry from Columbia University, 1948. Then he went to teach at Boston University for a number of years before he became decided to do science fiction writing full time. And Asimov wrote something like 500 books in the course of his life. And so he's one of the most, he would be considered one of the most well-published authors, really kind of in the Western canon. And he wrote on a range of things, but science fiction, of course, is among those subjects he's most well known for. This Foundation series is based on his Foundation books. And originally his Foundation books were they came in they were in sort of serialized forms. They were short stories in the Amazing Stories, if I got that right, the Amazing Stories magazine, that then became novels. And so we ain't gonna get into deep and heavy into it, but and I'm just gonna say name the 7 novels that constitute the total. So this is the whole canon that the story could pull from. Prelude to Foundation, 1998, the Ford Foundation, 1993, Foundation, 1951. You can see he was bouncing around. Foundation and Empire, 1952, Second Foundation, 1953, Foundation's Edge, 1982, and Foundation and Earth, 1986. I read all them bad boys. Now, we're not gonna get heavy into the books per se, but the books can give us some cue as we provide our unique critique. Let's get into the story. So the story is, based on this premise of a galactic empire. And that's one thing also about Asimov is that George Lucas with Star Wars, Frank Herbert with Dune were all inspired by Asimov's original sort of Foundation stories that spoke of a galactic empire many 1,000 years into the future. And so many thousand years into the future, thousands upon thousands of years into the future, we start with the story of this young woman of color, Black woman, as far as we know, still into the future, by the name of Gal. We'll get into that because nobody talking about that, by the way.
That's debatable, but anyway.
That ain't debatable. That ain't debatable. We're gonna get into colorism later on.
She's of color.
But this young Black woman or young woman, Gail Dornick, originally in the Asimov book, she was a man and possibly a white dude, who knows? But in this formulation, she is a young, we would say woman of color. Is that good, Vince? She got coloration. Played by the actress or the actor Lou Bell. Lou Bell. So she lives on this planet of Synax on the outer regions of the galaxy, and the outer regions of the Galactic Empire. And the Galactic Empire expand the entire galaxy. It's made up of thousands of worlds. She's in this quote unquote backwater. We're gonna get into that. planet of Synax that is facing environmental challenges, but the planet is facing these environmental challenges by attacking science and upholding mysticism and belief and mystic and religious belief, particularly the seer church. She's banned from the seer church and because she, in effect, is a mathematician or an organic mathematician. She effectively, from what we know of the stories, taught herself to be a brilliant mathematician and solves the Abraxas conjecture. This has her win a contest where she wins this contest sponsored by the brilliant mathematician Harry Seldon, who's on the main galactic or the capital of planet of Trantor at Streeling University. He invites her to come to Trantor to work with him on his psychohistory project. Psychohistory is a scientific or statistical subfield, a math or statistical subfield that basically predicts the trajectory of human civilization. And Harry Seldon is predicting that the Galactic Empire will fall, which pisses off the Emperor or the Empire, who is comprised of 3 cloned individuals, Day, Dusk, and Dawn. And they effectively, we have this back and forth. We ain't gonna give a straightforward synopsis because it's been done before. And watch it and pay you $6 and watch it to see the actual series. But we get into this exchange where the empire or emperors are distrustful of what Seldon is saying. There's some other back and forth, including with the son of Harry Seldon, the foster son, Rach, or Rach Ross, or Rach Seldon, who's also of color, as far as we know. And then eventually what happens, again, I'm mixing it up. I ain't giving a good synopsis, I know, I'm mixing it up. But eventually what happens is that in this court scene, it's obvious that they're leaning toward the fact of maybe executing Seldon, and likewise, this puts Gal Dornick in a precarious situation. But then the Sky Bridge, this big space elevator, is blown up by a terrorist attack. And for some reason, the emperor or the emperors in the empire change their mind, as advised by we find out, robot Major Domo, Ettore Demerzel. And so they ban Harry Seldon and his followers to a planet, Terminus, to create the galactic, the Encyclopedia Galactica. And then now, somebody hasn't watched the second episode, so we're gonna spoil it for them.
Man, wait a minute.
Ain't gonna call
Did you just kick him out your
Don't
car
throw
on the front?
Did I see some shade being thrown?
Yeah, some shade.
Oh, why? Why did you
I'm
have to do
just
that?
saying.
But let's just say
I just
that Harry don't make it to Terminus with the group that's banned. He don't make it. So
Hey Vince, spoiler alert.
and that's what we should have said. And we'll flash it. We splashed it on the screen.
Sorry.
Spoiler alert. So we get to so anyway, but Terminus also has this major set of plot points, including Salvor Hardin, the warden of Terminus, and the Foundation. It's called the Foundation because they're supposed to be scientists, sort of culminating all of human history into this galactic Encyclopedia Galactica. But we got this mystery on the planet Terminus of Salvor Hardin, the warden of Terminus, and why she has this particular connection to this thing called the Vault. So in other words, there's just a lot of freaking mysteries in this story. All right, that was a jacked up synopsis, but y'all can go on more reliable sources or see the series for yourself. Let me stop
back up.
there
You
and
just gave us
say,
the whole story. You gave us the whole book. Come on, man.
listen, Miss Thing.
I think that's how this is supposed to work.
I don't have to watch the second episode now.
Listen, I was trying to do a little bit of a synopsis. I did too much. But, okay, but let's get into it. Let's get into it. Is it good science fiction? All right. So, is it good science fiction? Let me just start there. Good science fiction. Vince, what you think? Good science fiction.
Well, yes, good science fiction. It has. Now, I'm not familiar at all with the books, so I can't speak to that. But in terms of what I saw in the production, yes, it you've got the characters, subplots, the being called to a higher purpose. Definitely a lot of technology, and some the technological advances are a little bit of a stretch for me to get to, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. The visuals, of course. All of that. Now, in terms of the production, I have some issues with the music, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, well, go ahead. What's the music issue?
It was boring. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is a bit video.
It's very
video gaming, right?
Yeah, well, not even that. I mean, even a good video. Well, I'm not going to go there, but it just didn't. It didn't heighten the senses for me.
Okay.
It didn't elevate any moments of the plot. There was just something missing there. So.
Okay. All right. So Ulysses, what's your first take of good science fiction?
It was, as far as the music was concerned, I agree with Vincent. After going back and watching it a few times, it feels a little disjointed. It feels like it's not a bad piece of music, but why is it here? It just doesn't seem to kind of, mesh up. Now, that's that. As far as the theatrics of it all, was a good science fiction. Well, first things first, I like the costuming. I thought the costuming, especially in the first episode, was beautiful. The beautiful gowns, lovely gowns, beautiful gowns. So, yeah, they made a good effort to make that kind of distinction between Gal Dornick on her planet and her people and how they dressed. Clearly, like with all the green, to kind of give you an indication as to who they are and what they do and how they, come by that textile. And, then the many mixtures on Trantor. I like the techie talk, that Gail does. I like, I like that more often than not, she's the smartest person in the room. Even though she doesn't seem at this juncture to have a lot of confidence, in speaking that, but I think that has a lot to do with, the planet she came from, the fact that they persecuted her for, being an intellectual.
Yep. Okay.
Harry Seldon's a little creepy. But I think it was designed that way. I think it's definitely by design. But yeah, as far as it being good science fiction, you give me spaceships and space travel. You give me tech like that. The elevator. I still haven't quite figured out why they have it. What's the purpose of the elevator? Why can't you just land on the planet? But But hey, to each his own monstrosity. It was nice. I really like the touches of technological flourish, if you will.
Right.
And I say that because some things are very just kind of, I don't know what's the word, rustic, just very now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when
It's
you
a little
look
Art
into
Deco
the
like too.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely giving you that. With the murals and the palace and all that.
Right.
So
Right.
it was just kind of a lot to just unpack with it all. But the visuals, it was different.
Right.
And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where they're going to go with all of the tech, because
Right.
it looks really good. It looks really good.
Bill, what you think in terms of good science fiction?
It absolutely was good science fiction. Similar to Vince, I hadn't read any of the books, but I had been looking forward to this for a while. I was reading some articles before it was officially released, and how, Foundation was offered to like James Cameron, of Titanic and of Aliens, and he turned it down because he thought it was just too much to do.
Yep.
And so maybe it's a good thing that instead of maybe a series of movies, it's going to be a series of possible, multiple episodes. Because the guy who pitched it to Apple TV said, he wants to do 80 episodes over 8 seasons,
Yep.
10 episodes a season. So I thought that was just perfect. So he said he sees the beginning.
Right.
He sees the beginning and the end. So when I read that, I was like, okay, I like that idea of maybe being able to get all of that in, but definitely don't be intimidated if you hadn't seen it, for the viewers out there, because I was a little bit like, oh my God, it's gonna be so heady. And I like that kind of stuff, but it definitely is easy to follow if you pay attention.
If you pay attention. Yeah.
If you pay attention.
Yeah, because if you blink, you're gonna miss a whole lot.
That's true. You'll miss. Yeah, if you get up and run and go to the bathroom and come back,
you can't text and watch at the same time.
Yeah, you might be 35 years away from where you were, or 400 years.
Jump around in time.
Yeah. I think I was listening to an interview. So David Goyer David Goyer and is among the sort of lead producers along with Josh Friedman. And I was listening to a discussion with Goyer, and he said in effect that one of the non-acting characters in the Foundation is time. And so that's why, and because Isaac Asimov was writing a story about a galactic empire that spans, 12,000 years or over 12,000 years, that in order to give you a scope of how big this thing is, that's why Goyer will move you ahead 400 years in one story, 35 years back in another. I think that's also why they use the plot device or the character device of the emperors, of the cloned emperors. You have dusk, dawn, day, dusk, and dawn. I forget which order that comes in. And sometimes darkness. I'm not going to give it away, Vince. But darkness. Yeah, we're done with Willis. So that at any one time that the actors can play themselves across the span of time, right? And so that you don't have to, think about, well, what is this person going to look like for 400 years from now, or what can human beings live 400 years in a span, et cetera. So I think you're right, and it is also it's also that it doesn't spoon feed the viewer. So you do have to pay attention. You have to pay some heavy attention, right?
Well, if you're not paying attention, you won't know what era you're in, and you won't know which emperor you're dealing with.
Right. What version of Cleon the First, who was the original, that was cloned, because it's a galactic, it's a genetic dynasty that's spanned 400 years from Cleon the First. So Cleon,
and it is a great episode that defines them too. I think episode 3 really gives you like the first half of that episode to really break down the whole genetic dynasty. Get a real
can we talk about episode 3? Can we?
We can,
because we know that. I'm just saying. Can we?
Well, he was supposed to be doing. He was going to do his homework. Then he had a little difficulty at home, and so that's why.
That's all right. Vince, I just want to let you know you ain't happy. You my brother, okay?
That's right. You ain't. But we ain't gonna give away too many spoilers. But go ahead, Ulysses.
Oh no. forgot what mess I was talking.
Okay, you
was,
said episode 3. You won't keep.
yeah. So,
okay.
Episode 3. Yeah, the fact that we can talk about it because that was a little creepy.
Which in particular, what the? Well, you know what? I don't know.
Well, I think they delved into kind of Demerzel.
Yeah, Demerzel.
Demerzel. Her beautiful gowns. Mm-hmm. Beautiful gowns, lovely gowns.
Oh yeah, no, costuming is just off the chain.
Yeah.
Off the chain. Mm-hmm.
But the fact that she isn't human.
Right. Yes.
That was a big reveal, yes. Especially because beings like her, androids, I believe, were, robots were banned at some point. So I guess it's good to be the emperor.
Right.
So, yeah, and then there was a scene, I believe, where they were, recreating the eating and drinking as they did in the first episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But one of them was off.
Okay, so you're talking about the emperors would each version of the emperor or the clone would sit down at the dinner table.
Yes, and when one drank, yes, they would all just kind of be in sync with their mannerisms.
Right.
Which I felt was some kind of weird triune trinity religious metaphor.
Well, they take it even
like that in the first episode.
It was. And they take it even further. I mean, I'm not remember your point, Ulysses, but they take it even further. If you remember in the first episode where Brother Day, is that the youngest? No.
Oh, that's Dawn.
Dawn, thank you. Dawn does become before Day. Well, Brother Day and Demerzel were standing there to meet the delegation from Thespis and from what's the other planet? Thespis and Anacreon. And he holds up the 3 fingers. He does the 3-finger symbol. In the Catholic Church and others, that can represent both divinity, and Christ pointing up and down,
Trinity.
But the Trinity, right?
Okay.
And so they're literally a Trinity. The three are literally a Trinity. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. But episode 3 definitely it gave you a kind of unease about Demerzel. It gave me an unease about her.
Yes.
It made me feel a little like she's manipulating things behind the scenes.
Right.
It also, if I'm not mistaken, that was the episode where Dusk was going into retirement, if you will.
Yeah. Okay.
That's Todd's hint about Brother Midnight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Midnight. Yeah. He was taking his final steps, if you will. Okay. And it was just a lot of little things in that episode that just kind of, red flag, red flag, red flag. The fact that he wasn't allowed to see his younger self,
right?
Gestating in a tube, right. Basically. And why is that? You look at yourself and other iterations of yourself all the time,
right?
So it just seemed. But Demerzel was, right there with it. Do
you think that? So these are some larger themes, and we can talk about that sort of, because actually I wanted to also just throw this in just as an aside. Sorry, I didn't mean to get us off this point, but there's some larger themes that I think make this good science fiction. And this takes it back to, I'm not going to do this a lot, but a little bit of Asimov. Asimov was a social science fiction writer. And so he was not great on characterization. He was not a great developer of characters. In fact, Gal Dornick, as many have said, made it through maybe the first chapter-ish of the original Foundation book and disappears completely. She was merely a sounding board to Harry Seldon. He actually, I think Asimov was also very much a mystery writer. As a scientist, he was trying to unpack a mystery, right? And so when you read some of his novels, although I love them, they read very flatly because it's not a lot of action. It's a hell of a lot of dialogue. And it's like, Sherlock Holmes talking to Moriarty. It's a lot of dialogue, not a lot of action. And so, and which doesn't work well on TV. To go to your point, Milton, is sort of why there's been a challenge to put Asimov's books, these 7 books or plus others, into TV format, because it is such a challenge, because this is science fiction written by a scientist. So it's just, in some ways, it's just the facts. So, sort of that one of the broader themes in Asimov is that question of choice and rationality. And so, so we get around to this story of who really controls the empire. If Demerzel, well, first of all, one thing I thought that I haven't heard anyone say is, well, doesn't anybody else know that Demerzel might be a robot? Because how does Demerzel stick around 400 years and look exactly the same? But anyway, maybe Demerzel got mind control. Hold on to that thought.
Wait a minute. Let me just, lend a machete to your intellectual thicket.
Okay.
Who gonna say something?
Who gonna say something that Demerzel?
Who's gonna say something?
Oh, you mean about her role in the empire?
Who's anything about her, period?
Because they need her.
Like, no, who is going to say something about her, period? Who's going to say that she has a hair out of place? All right. Did you see what happened to the guy in the first episode who just happened to have one of Harry Seldon's books in his room?
Yes.
A man who had been cleaning them walls for 61 years. Okay. And they painted the wall with him.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
They literally painted the wall with him, right? Right.
Why? Because he had a book.
Because he had a book.
Because he had a book, and you gonna come in there and say something?
Right.
Try to point out that there's an issue with man.
Why were they going in his room looking for? Why were they going to his room to begin with? See, now we're getting into parallels.
Like the girl said in Sleepy Hollow, because it was his.
Well, see, but now there you go. See, and then we got some parallels to current events, which is, we talked about, you talked about sci-fi being kind of a reflection of current events, right?
Right.
and that's a clear one right there.
Oh yeah.
Here's a servant,
right,
i.e., slave, who's been a good slave for 60 some odd years, right? And he gets caught with a book in his room. Why y'all going into his room to begin with? Commentary. And then you gonna shoot him and kill a poor man. He's been a lifelong servant.
Yeah.
Lifelong servant.
Yeah.
What?
And you gonna kill him because he had a book. Why? Because Black folks, when we were under the thumbs of the master, see, they didn't want us to read, and they didn't want us to think, because we could think, but to think in this new language,
to think critically,
don't act on it, right? Yeah,
right, means that we're going to become self-empowered. So we're going against the main thought. So I thought that was very powerful. That little thing, when they just splattered him all over the place.
Right. Yeah, and so that's why I kind of ask about these broader themes. And so let's spend a little bit more time on good science fiction, and then we're going to turn to the question of our unique critique, because some of what we are offering are some insights that we have, but I know others have shared, because I've seen quite a few of the commentaries, and there's several good ones out there. A little bit more on the good science fiction. I do think that this is very science fiction-y, from the drunk drives to the fact that they're making math beautiful, right? The prime radiant, and it's the beauty of the prime radiant, the graphical simulation. Even the space elevator, though I was the space sky bridge, I was a little critical, but I looked it up a little. That would actually happen if you could create, so that terrorist attack, if you actually destroyed the thing at the apex of the juncture or whatever, at the top of it, it would literally wrap around the planet. And so it wrapped around the planet and killed what 100 million people, 50 levels below, because it like a whip cord. The gravity would just keep whipping it around the planet.
Quick question.
That cord was an umbilical cord, which to me meant direct line from to life, umbilical, right?
Yes.
And what happens when you cut the umbilical cord off?
Right. That's what it symbolized.
So
right?
yeah. And I thought what had disturbed me about that whole contraption was just I couldn't wrap my head. But I thought, well, wait a minute. This is like this station, but the space station, umbilical cord. I mean, it's giving birth. I mean, what
and Vince, it represents the Galactic Empire's connection to the greater empire, right? And so you literally cut off the empire from the rest of the galactic,
Everybody came through there. Those were the gates.
Those were the gates.
Those were the gates to the planet.
That's right.
I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
About Trantor, real quick, because I just remembered you said that predates all the other just kind of big sci-fi movies, Star Wars and Star Trek and Dune and what have you. The more I'm thinking about when you said the 50 levels on Trantor, it makes me think of Coruscant.
Very
right?
much so.
And I'm wondering, did
where
they
you
get
think
that?
Lucas got it from?
Did it? Okay.
Yeah. The what is it? Equinopolis, the city planet or world planet? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, an important thing they make about Trantor is that, the surface is only for the empire. Right. And so sunlight is only available for the rulers. So it kind of makes sense that you can't land on the planet. You have to go to this star bridge, and then you have to go down to your subterranean level. Right. And you're not
because everything else is
on the surface. Right. You can't be on the surface. It's only for, the ruling class.
Right. So, so there's a lot going on here in terms of the contributions to science fiction. I also do think, however, that, and so I'll end up this segment by saying there's a lot to which I think Goyer and Friedman are making. So let me back it up and say that Asimov contributed some of these ideas, including robotics with his robot series and the positronic brain notion, the Galactic Empire to Star Wars. I mean, a lot of this are concepts Asimov gave to science fiction.
Who had a positronic brain? Was that Data?
Yes. Well, that I want to be careful because someone can properly post. That ain't quite right. If I say it and I'm wrong, but I do know, yes, that Data did have a positronic brain in Star Trek, right? Yeah. Okay. So that concept of the positronic brain, I do believe some aspect of that can be credited to Asimov.
And didn't Asimov do iRobot? Will Smith?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The iRobot series. Yeah. Will Smith, we can get into that later too. That movie and that whole series, his whole robot series. And in fact, the arc of many of his robots, Foundation and Galactic Empire books, eventually Asimov, he lived long enough to complete the circle that the books talk to each other by the end. That one book, you see a little bit of the robots in the Galactic Empire, a little bit of the Galactic Empire in the pre-Empire, So there are ways in which he completed the circle of the story. But overall, again, my overall critique of this is that it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, the special effects are off the chain, they don't look like they spared any expense of the $50 million, and that there's just a lot going on here. Feel free, brothers, to delve back into aspects of your critique of the story, of the dialogue, acting, character, special effects, etc. But let's get to unique critique. What I don't hear nobody talking about is the Black people.
Or the supposed Black people.
Okay, now Vince gonna go out on his limb and I'm gonna go out on mine. Why make the choice of two Black women as two of the four main characters, conceivably four main characters, 5 maybe, of the series?
Now, Todd, in the book, were they men?
They were all men.
They were white men? Okay.
Presumably white men, but let me just say this. Whereas Asimov was, and I'm just going to go out on I'm just going to say it. Asimov was backwards as the day is long on gender. Bad on gender. Asimov was interesting and okay when it came to questions of cultural difference and a little bit of even discussions of race and racism. And maybe his own ancestry as being a Russian Jewish heritage. But he was as bad as Robert Heinlein and some of the other classic guys and white dudes of the period who wrote in the 1950s period. Bad on gender. Having said that, though, it's interesting then for this series that they don't just make them people of color, but Black women. Now, there were no Black women that I can think of in any of Asimov's book as a protagonist. I don't even remember a Black woman as a character.
Why Black women with British accents?
But Black women with British accents, that's one thing, Vince. And Vince, when we Americans got to portray sophistication, it must be a British accent. That was a horrible British accent. But
it looks like, it does honestly look like the pool of actors that they pulled from were predominantly European, I guess the dominant characters.
Yeah, right.
That's the pool that they kind of pulled from. In the same way we have our favorites over here, they have their faves.
Okay.
So
yeah, well, So anyway, why make Gal Dornick and Salvor Hardin, the mathematician prodigy of Harry Seldon, well, she's not his prodigy, but becomes his assistant, and Gal Dornick, the warden of Terminus, why make them Black women, black women, or women of color? And what does it mean? I throw out this because this is also the other question. We'll bring up a concept others have not brought up, which is Afrofuturism. And Afrofuturism is that concept or movement that says, how do we foresee and imagine a Black future or Black people in the future? So what do y'all think? Does it make any difference that they're Black women? Because if you close your eyes, is there anything that makes them Black as we understand?
Todd, it's interesting because I guess it was done on purpose. And obviously, but kind of when I think about the first episode, they talk about the outer regions. And so they talk about Synax being on the outer regions. They talk about the two planets that were at war being on the outer regions and barbaric. Synax has, this anti-math, anti-technology stance, and so they want to ban and burn all the scientists. So, I guess I wanted to appreciate the fact that they did cast these roles, as minorities or women of color, but then to, maybe make it realistic in the way in which, we are viewed. If we just look here at Earth and how we look at, third world countries as being barbaric and behind the times, and how can you treat your scientists this way? How do you you put religion above science and things like that? So I guess that whole dichotomy between technology and then the different regions of the world and the way in which they look at it, they just brought it forward here.
And the whole thing, science versus religion, right?
Right.
And it is interesting that the Black folks were the religious ones, right? And who denied science, right? But then they were also, like you said, they were on the outer rim, right? Or whatever it is. On a planet with water, but there was no green grass or anything like that. But that's a whole nother thing. They were just in a perpetual.
It was algae.
Well, it was, or it could have just been a perpetual baptism. I mean, who knows, right? But anyway, you're constantly immersed. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And I think too, in many respects, it probably, again, not all that familiar with the author, Eisenhower, but maybe it reflects the times of do we believe that the earth was created in 7 days, or do you believe in evolution, right? And never the twain shall meet, right? So I thought that there were some parallels there for me.
Right. So Ulysses, what did you take of this? I'm gonna throw this question at you. What did you take of this? Yeah, if I know you've seen it a couple of times. There was the court scene where the prosecutor or the advocate was talking to Gal Dornick, and again, Gal Dornick was, there was a spy who talked to Gal Dornick. Again, go watch the TV series to get all the plot points. But the spy talked to Gal Dornick and says, either you are now on Trantor, either you disavow Selden and he dies, or you don't and you die. So
you both
or you both die. Or you both die.
You could go ahead and agree with him if you want to. And
say his psychohistory is right, and you're both snubbed. So the advocate is talking to Gal Dornick, and because she has removed her prayer stones, those 3 indentations, and we could get into that whole as a cultural trope among African peoples. But
we will.
Right. But then, so she removed the prayer stones. And he says, and I caught it because I heard it more than once, with your prayer stones removed, you almost look like one of us. What did you think?
I think, having gotten as far as I've gotten at this point,
okay,
not to rub it in, but I'm just saying I'm a little further down the line.
Yes.
Than some other people. But I think when he said that, looking a little more like us, I think it was deeply embedded, not in her skin, clearly, but in the belief system.
Okay.
And you see, well, I'm going to take you there. I'm going to take you through this thought process, because you see that there are priests from her planet on Trantor.
Okay. Yeah, at least one.
And they some hard mofos.
Okay.
Right. No, I mean, just as far as how you would view Black elders, whose position is to provide guidance and leadership to the community. So they quit school because of recess. They're not there to play. Because he was very curt and short with her when she came, to them. And I think looking like us is not so much looking, like us, but more of assimilating. Adopting, our way of thinking. And that look was very important to those people on her planet, Synax.
Right.
And I believe, I'm trying to understand at this point, I believe that she removed those as not to be disrespectful. For wearing them and doing what she's doing, or pursuing now she had she survived, not being flayed or hung or drowned, on her planet.
Right.
But I do believe it was a respect thing. And clearly the respect was there, because who was the first, people she went when she got in trouble?
Right.
Okay. She had that foxhole prayer where she needed to go.
She went to the priest, right? She went to the minister.
And he's like, well, what you want me to tell you? You don't even have your stones in. What's,
Right.
What do you want from us? What do you want from us?
That's right.
He wants to tell you everything's going to be okay. It's not.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, no, I didn't think, at this point, I feel differently about it than I did with just having the first episode as something, as my only point of reference, because I feel like they fleshed out her culture.
Yeah, I agree.
and what that is, and that there is one.
Right.
And it would appear they're all Black.
Yes, they are. It's very Wakanda-like, right?
Right. Well, except there's no technology. So
well, yeah, it's reverse Wakanda, right? It's sort of in a
Right.
strange way that Goyer is sort of like flipping, there's some reason they gotten rid of technology. There's some reason why they banned the university.
And it's very, very oppressive.
Right.
It's very oppressive kind of, people are fear, is running through them, and, what they do and who sees what they do and what they say to each other,
right.
even within their family structures. So that is Blackness to me. That's three-dimensional Blackness to me. That's not just the representation or the idea of putting, a Black face in the program. And we can say, yay, there's representation, that's, I don't gig with that, you know what I mean? But to really flesh them out and to make them significant to the story, I guess that's representation to me. That's, what I want to see, and not just, a Black passerby. Well,
there's a concept, there's author and scholar Anili Dama. No, I messed it up. Adilifu Nama has a book entitled Black Space, We Black Spaces, and talks about this notion of either structured absence in science fiction. Black people are just like structurally absent, or token presence, right? It's sort of like the one Black guy, the voice of Darth Vader being James Earl Jones, but no other Black people in Star Wars, the original Star Wars, 1977. And so I mean, that's a question we can kind of continue to ask. Is it really kind of token presence? Or is it like, because, well, Black people ain't into science fiction, they ain't into technology, so they wouldn't be there in the future. That sense that when Richard Pryor made that joke about, I ain't seen no Black people in Star Wars. Huh?
Logan's Run.
Logan's Run. Yeah. What was the quote? Or do you want me to?
I guess he said there ain't no Black people in the future. Logan's Run. Not one nigga. No, I think it's just right. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, no, that's what he said. Like no nigga, because no niggas in Logan's Run. I mean, this is Richard Pryor after all, because he says, well, white people hadn't intended us to be there in the future. So, to me, that sort of the racism and the anti-Black racism that would say, and really science fiction is not necessarily about the future. It's often about the present, right? We're often talking about ourselves. Apes and aliens and robots are not about apes, aliens, or robots. They're about, the alienation of human beings and the oppression of human beings. So I agree with you.
One thread they always, I think, try to have, or one through line, is that in some way, shape, or form, we need to see this as a possible our future.
Well, yeah, and so that's something we can kind of come back to in our discussions, right? It's sort of like, what is this really saying? And so this will be one thing. What is Foundation saying about us today, right? What is Goyer trying to use, these stories to say about us today, and where we are today? Syntax is going through climate change. I don't think that's incidental. The terrorist attack on the Sky Bridge, that's not incidental. That's something about us today, right? I will, one thing, and then we can kind of wrap up. I will sort of say this, that I agree with you, Ulysses. My first reading of that first episode says, wow, this is racist. Black people are backwater, hate scientists, are anti-rationality, and have banned all the universities. And it's all Black people did that. And wow, this is racist, because it seemed as though it was people of color and or those with strange Arabic sounding language that blew up the Sky Bridge. But I appreciate the fact, I agree with you that as you get further along, there's more nuance to it. We still can leave our impressions and hold out our judgment, but there's some more nuance going on here. Although again, I don't know if it's incidental that you got all these black people. Is it the Black Panther effect? Why the choices of all these African Americans, or excuse me, I shouldn't say African American, people of color, black people?
Well, I think he kind of puts the knife in and twists the writer.
Okay.
Like, think about the relationship between the professor and the guy he called his son.
Yes, right.
In episode 2, you remember when he said, "You remember our first meal together?"
Yes.
And he went on, the professor, to talk about how the meal was where the professor came and had this young boy who was stealing, and then he took him under his wing because his father was an alcoholic, and how he had such a great life with the professor. And the young man now was like,
"Lifted him out of the gutter."
Yes, put you out of the gutter.
Like, oh no,
out of the ghetto, right?
Right, at the ghetto, right? It's so analogous to today, And so then when he
what I'm trying to tell you is, in the current episode, that is all but said, that he lifted you out of the gutter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Or out of the trash heap, something to that effect,
But I like the way that the writer didn't just let that go, because that would have been okay. It could have been okay that he came from a horrible background. His father was
more black poverty, right?
And he was a thief, and now the professor saved this black man, and now look at him, he's my great assistant. Okay. But the young man was like, "Oh hell no!" That's not how it happened.
It didn't go down that way.
Right, exactly. He stole because he was trying to get medicine for his father. And then once he had to leave his father and go with the professor, that's when his father started drinking. Right. Because he lost his son. But it goes to show that there are parts of the world where people will easily hand their children over for what they perceive as a better life. And that's probably what this father did. So I really kind of like how, yes, a degree of tokenism, but he kind of puts the knife in and he twists, but he didn't twist again, meaning that he could have left the story as a poor kid, but he really let him come forward and say the reason why, he ended up, with the professor as his quote unquote son.
So Vince, I'm gonna give you the last word on this, Vince. What do you think in terms of?
I didn't see the other 2 episodes.
No. From what you saw, we know that.
I'm afraid to say that I didn't see the other 2 episodes. I do know that in the film industry, I think we all know this, that sometimes the artistic license of the director over what was originally written can be vastly different sometimes.
Right. And it is this case.
It is. And so I think, again, you would know better the how much of the characters from the book are being reflected in the production itself, right? Because you said we got.
First of all, they are characters because, again, Asimov was minimal in his characterizations.
Right. So the ultimate question is, and I think this is a reflection of the industry more than anything, is the decisions that are often made. Why, as you asked earlier, well, why Black females, right? And my question has always is and will always be, why does it seem that there's a choice of or preference of light-skinned blacks versus darker skin?
Colorism is a question.
So and in many respects, I see that as well. But for me, there's just, for me, in the back of my mind, where we could be in the future is where we are now. And I think what these stories tell us is that if we don't change our ways, what we do is the future is not necessarily going to be better. In many respects, the future is just the same. It's just with more technology, right? And what we see with technology now is we would think that with technology, the world would be better and that we would be in perhaps a post-racial a post-racial climate, but that's not necessarily true. We're more divided now than we ever have been, and I think it's because of technology. So I think that there's a warning there. I think that I see, just as being a novice, from the series. So there was a lot for me to again. I'm anxious to see the other episodes, because I left with a lot of questions.
Okay.
And I would like to see how the different developments of these characters. I still go back to a couple of universal things that I remember remember in the end, the professor says to her after they've gone through this trial, he says, you came here to solve, I'm paraphrasing, you came here to solve a problem, right? How about saving the universe?
You said you came here to save your planet. How about come here to save the galaxy?
Save the galaxy. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a universal thing too, that all of us have, that we have talents that, we constrain ourselves because we can't see where our talents can lead us, if we even know that we have the talent. I mean, other people see things in us that we don't see in ourselves.
Right.
So that's the first thing. But then we're called to a higher purpose. And again, we get to, Maslow's transformational learning, and all of a sudden, these, something, I won't say tragic, but dramatic happens into our life. And now all of a sudden the trajectory of our life, now we have to figure out and make meaning, right? This is not what I expected. And so now all of a sudden, what do I do with this, right? And so I think her character, again, not having seen the second and third episode, I'm particularly interested to see how she continues to develop herself.
Right.
The other thing too, you all mentioned earlier, is the fact that why is it that Black folks seem to always have the answer to things, and we get used for those answers. That was something else that kind of bothered me, and it always has bothered me.
Okay.
So I think what I see in a lot of this is that our future is our present. And unless we change our ways, or unless we begin to use these new devices for better purpose, I think the human race, and as a species, we're going to just continue to destroy ourselves. And I think that's what I saw. And throughout all of this, through this apocalypse, right? It's always going to be those who are in power. I think there's what's that one saying? And I can't even, what do all, from the Matrix, I guess that's where it was. What do all men who have power want? They want more power.
More power.
Right.
And I definitely see, again, that's our future, because it's our present. People who have power now want more power, and would do anything that they have to do to maintain it and to get more of it. So for me, my takeaway is very enjoyable. I love it. But it doesn't give me that much hope. And so I'm anxious to see how these episodes are developed over the next season. But in terms of a larger picture for me, I don't see hope, really.
Okay.
I want to say to the director, thank you for putting some Black folks in here. Now, can you put some Black American actors in, because we have a big pool of talent here. But again, to all my but to all of our British viewers who may be here or whatever, I'm sorry. That's just me. So anyway, that's all I have.
No, I'm kidding.
No, but for me, the continued thing is to constantly challenge the Hollywood mindset, right? Which for decades and decades continued to push a particular narrative, with a few exceptions there in the middle, just to challenge the mainstream thought and perception. And that continues to get on my nerves for some reason. So when we saw Billy D, I was like, yes. And I didn't realize as a kid, I didn't realize my reaction to the fact that here's a light-skinned Black man in this storyline, right? I know we get into colorism, colorism again, but look, you know, I think that was the first time I ever seen a person of color in a sci-fi film. If I'm,
that probably be right.
Remember.
I mean, he's not the first to be in one, but
I know
he's not the first one you saw.
At least the one that I've seen.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't realize how important that moment in when The Empire Strikes Back came out would be. Here I am years later as an adult man, and looking back on that and thinking, wow, that really had a profound effect on me in ways that I didn't realize. So anyway, that's where I am on this, and I will look at episodes 2 and 3, and
we up to 5 now, Vince, as of this broadcast.
Really?
Hey, it's okay.
What had happened was, like I said, you know, I was working all day and long hours at work, and I came home I had a meal to sit down and put my feet, because you know my feet were hurting because
we understand, man. We understand.
And I just you know.
No. We understand. We understand.
Yeah, you know.
Although episode 2 ain't gonna give you a lot of hope at the end, but we'll keep moving through. Keep moving through.
Yeah, don't you let that stop you.
But question, Todd, since you are familiar with the series of books, don't tell me how it ends, but does it end on hope?
Yes.
For the human race?
Yes.
Okay, so I will
just
go
hope
with
it
that.
ends.
Huh?
I said, or do you just hope it ends?
After 7 books, you might, but
we'll end with that.
No. I mean, it ends with. I'm not going to tell you the exact ending, but it ends with Asimov's eventual vision about the unity of humanity.
That's okay. Yeah. So I will look forward to that.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, you know, there's some parallelisms, I think, even with Abrams' Star Trek.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a whole bunch of
much more of a diverse, a diverse pool of folks who are represented there.
Well, that was Roddenberry's Star Trek, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But and Roddenberry was not he had gender issues. I think.
Well, Captain Kirk is it's not known for being. It's not exactly feminist.
It was the short skirts. What was it? Was it the captain sleeping with everybody?
Oh yeah, right. And misogyny in space. Anyway. So, all right, brothers, let's wrap this up. We went a bit long on this first episode because we wanted to lay some groundwork here. But let me we're losing.
No, I'm here. I just dropped something. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll edit that out.
Yeah, well, that's what I kind of figured out. You know.
So let's wrap this up. Even though we went a little bit long, but we wanted to lay some groundwork in this very first episode, and we were kind of rocking the foundation. So let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, from what you've seen, what is your assessment? And we'll give the unique critique assessment, where 10 is yes. I would see this as a good and multi-dimensional portrayal of Black people, or when we get into that, Black SGL or gay folk, I would see this as a multi-dimensional portrayal of us. Or 0, as I've called it, Amos Andy in space, or 1 is Amos and Andy in space. So between 1, horrible, or 10, good portrayal, where do you land from what you've seen thus far? I'll go Milton, Ulysses, and then we'll give the last word to Vince. What do you think, Milton?
Yeah, I would give it an 8.
Okay.
Not necessarily Black SGL participation yet.
Yeah, because
from the episodes I've seen.
Right,
but from just inclusiveness and relevance to what we go through today. And then the idea that the foundation represents humanity and to rebuild humanity after the fall. And so we think of what's going on today with history and ideas to ban certain theories or to ban certain books so they don't become part of history.
Yeah,
so I would definitely give it an 8, and I'm looking forward to recapping maybe the first season.
Okay.
So an 8 for me.
Cool beans. Ulysses, what you think between 1 and 10?
Okay, between 1 and 10 on a scale of Blazing Saddles.
Hey, I like Blazing Saddles.
To Black Panther. Yeah, but I'm sure when we go back and look at it now, we can see how it's a little problematic.
Well, yeah, there's some problems.
Funny, we all love Cleveland a little, but you know. But yeah, so as far as representation,
yeah,
it was a whole read. Anyway, I'm kind of between the 7.5 and the 8.
Okay.
As well. I don't know, because I feel like you can't necessarily fool me with the window dressing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I can't. You're not going to be able to fool me with this whole aesthetic. And I do not know if a majority of these people are Black props. You understand?
Okay.
Or if they are fully realized and fleshed out Black characters.
Okay.
So kind of waiting to see.
Okay.
I'll reserve some of my judgment, but yeah, I'm definitely saying 7.5. 7.5. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Vince, what you think?
I'm gonna give it a 6 for
Okay.
2 reasons. One, the Blackness issue, and also the sexual identity issue. You can't tell me there ain't no gays and lesbian folk who ain't gonna be around in the future. So where we go, right? Maybe we always on the outskirts, on city. I mean, I don't know. I mean, come on now.
Outer regions.
Right, the outer regions. Like,
yeah, of course we were banned.
Right. Now, I would be interested to know, only because he's fine as hell, if the adopted son, I can't remember his name. Yeah. Does he ever get married, or what's his tea?
Honey, I'm gonna need you to watch these.
Yeah, episode 2.
Episode 2. He has a love scene. Let's just say that. He has a love.
Oh, there's a love. Oh, okay.
We just say we just say a love.
Listen, is it what I hope it will be?
I don't know about if it's what you hope. I doubt very seriously. But I know we all over here are hoping that you watch some episodes out of that. Okay, so there's your hope.
That's what our hope is. Think Romeo and Juliet, Vince. But anyway, go ahead.
And I also give it a 6 too, and this is just me, because the music score is so uninviting and unattractive to me, and actually in many respects detracts away from, I think, many of the wonderful visual things in the cinematography.
Okay.
So, but that's just me personally.
Okay.
As a musician.
Okay. All right. No, I hear you. I think I'm along the lines of between. I think I'll give it a 8 now, up to what I've seen. And I won't give it away, but there is a particular scene in the 5th episode that I think was just extremely poignant with Gail Dornick. And I mean, now the one thing we had, because we can't comment on everything. I think the acting in this series is excellent. I think the acting is excellent. And I think I got a little problem with Gal Dornick's characterization, even in episode 5. But it was a very poignant moment that happened in that episode that I think was a really wonderful portrayal of her pain. Having said that, but I still agree that is this sort of, are folk incidentally Black? Now, some might watch our show and say, well, why do people got to be black, why do we have to have portrayals of folk who are black, obviously black, I don't know how we want to put that, excuse me, in the future? Well, because should black culture survive? Should black people survive? Is it worth surviving? And should you make references to it in very direct ways that are affirming ways? Not, if you close your eyes, you couldn't tell. It doesn't matter who it is. So anyway, yeah, I think I give it about, what did I say? An 8, because I think it is turning out to be, particularly in that episode, it's turning out to be a fuller portrayal of these black characters. But you're right, Vince, we don't have any reference in terms of SGL, same-sex or queer relationships. And it is interesting that the love that's portrayed in Foundation is black love, right? I mean, when I say that, I mean what I mean by that is that all of the characters seem to be of the same sort of black or up.
Hold on.
You mean light skin?
Hold on, wait a minute. Stick a pin
You
in
mean
there
light
for a
skin?
second.
What?
You mean light skin?
Well, now not all of the groupings are.
The thing, I just want to talk about, Salvor Hardin. And yeah, just to be clear, her love interest is not.
Yes, you're right.
Black.
You're right. Well, you're right. Actually, okay, so
it doesn't take away from the fact that
but actually, and that
not black.
No. I agree. At least from what we visually know, and
right.
So, and of course, race is visual in the United States. So, but again, this is a point we can bring up as to these relationships in the sense of what does that bode about the future? Do you see it as the same conflicts or different conflicts into the future?
I got a question.
Okay.
I can't remember, but maybe you all do, and maybe in the subsequent episodes. But did you see any kinky hair? Did any black folks have any kinky hair?
Salvor Hardin?
Salvor Hardin.
Natural hair.
Yeah,
natural
hair. She had number 4.
On the
Number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
On the kinky scale, kinkiness scale.
Yeah, and on Syntax, all the brothers and sisters had naturals.
Well,
no process.
I know her mother.
Okay.
Galtonic's mother was.
Yeah, it was straight, but you don't know if that was the sort of the natural texture of her hair or if it was
probably dreadlocks. Yeah. We don't know that.
Dreadlocks.
No, it was not.
No, there was
definitely
not.
Not.
No. There were dreadish black hair.
Well, when you're out in space, the gravity has a different effect on.
Yeah. Okay, right.
Hair,
now, let's not go with the gravity.
Our hair always defies gravity.
Oh Lord. Anyway,
I have one last little critique, and that was the tree trunk on the man's head. That tree trunk. What was that thing? When tree trunk.
Oh, you talking about the Thespins?
Yeah, when they showed up. Yeah.
The costume. Yeah, he was very earthy. Yeah, he was wearing a tree. Yeah.
Well, I ain't never seen no red tree trunk before, but hey.
Oh, what Guardians of the Galaxy? Groot talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. By the way. All right, so brothers, we're gonna wrap this up. Like I said, this is going long. I'm probably gonna add this a bit to get to some key stuff. But in wrapping up, as we move forward, do you think we ought to come back to Foundation? Although we are gonna move on to Dune.
I think we should move on to Dune because it's coming up.
Yeah,
a season finale, maybe a season wrap.
Season wrap up. Yes. Okay, well, I'm gonna ask the viewers to also give us some recommendations. So we come back to Foundation and give our critique at the season finale, or what should we do? So we want to be viewer driven, and you tell us what you'd like to see. And we know you already kind of have been posting comments throughout as has been portrayed on the screen, and we're gonna go back and comment on your comments. All right, so Thank you, my brothers. Thank you, Vince. We shall know you as Vince throughout, correct? Yes, okay. Vincent, I call him Vinchesca sometimes. Vince, brother Ulysses, the unique Ulysses, always one of a kind, love you dearly. And brother Milton, to all of y'all. Y'all been listening to Black
Enjoy
Space.
the peace.
Right. Respect and enjoy
Respect
the
the peace. And enjoy it, baby. Enjoy it.
Live long and prosper, baby.
You've been listening to
just
Black
know-
Spaces, where you
and
will get the unique critique. Like and share, and we will see you on the backside, on the black side, and in the future. All right, love y'all now.
All right.
All right,
Be
peace
good.
out.